kind of started looking around, getting my bearings and everything. I'm looking at these tree branches right on my windshield and everything, and I'm looking around. Now, at this moment in time, I do not realize I'm upside down.
Say what? This is Touched by Heaven. Everyday encounters with God. Those moments when heaven and earth collide, and we see God. We see His hand reaching out to us, attempting to get our attention, inviting us into a closer relationship. Here we share stories of encounter with angels, divine intervention, prophetic dreams, visions, near-death experiences, big and little God incidents. I'm your host, Trapper Jack. So glad you're here. Episode 150. Whoa, 150, I say. A Prayerful Trucker's Best Worst Night. Yes. This is about Nick or Carrie, or is it, what is it?
It's Carrie, but you can call me Nick. That's my middle name. I've got a twin. His name is Terry, so there was a little confusion growing up, so they just took my middle name and cut it down a little bit and made it Nick out of Nichols, and here you have it.
There you have it. Nick it is. I love Nick already. Now, here's the deal. Nick has been driving for more than 40 years, married for almost 50, and this is his best worst night. I want you to picture his truck. He's driving a big truck. He's got the big cab, got the trailer behind him, and a trailer behind that. It's called a double, or isn't it also called piggyback or something? Anyway, it's a long truck. You got a cab, you got a trailer, and you got a trailer hooked onto that. I want you to keep picturing how long and how massive this truck is as we talk about this story, okay? All right. Now his wife, I want you to think about the Holy Spirit and his wife who's back home, and how the Holy Spirit touches the wife at just the right moment, okay? All right, you have that. And then you have onlookers who, this happened 11 years ago. They're still scratching. I guarantee you these people are still telling this story 11 years later, guaranteed. And we should all have a guardian angel sitting next to us as we drive that Nick has, okay? So with that in mind, we'll get this story underway with Nick, who heard me on the radio one night as he was out trucking around, and then downloaded the Touched by Heaven podcast and just started listening.
See if I can get my headset turned on right quick. Now we got it.
Well, where are you parked right now?
I'm in a place called Great Falls, South Carolina, on Interstate 77, mile marker 66. I pray to God that this may touch someone somewhere out there in radio land or podcast land, I'll say. Anyway, where do you want to begin?
I take it you like to drive.
Yeah. Well, Trapper, I've been doing it 43 years.
Wow.
I'm 69 years old, and I feel better than I have in 10 years.
Wow. Well, okay, where does your story, as far as I always like to kind of get to a little bit of the background.
I love listening to out here on the road. I don't get to talk to a lot of people, so I listen to podcasts, and I love listening to people and giving their stories about how God has been, working in their lives and all, and how sometimes, as you say, will give you a big nudge. Well, I've had several of them over the years.
Oh, very good.
Over the years.
Did you always have faith? Did you fall away, come back? What's your background, basically?
I was raised in pretty much my mother and dad believed in God, believed in Christ, but my dad was not a spiritual leader. He didn't get saved until he was about 68 years old. Mom was the one that kind of saw us, got us in church and going to church. And then my grandmother, who every Christmas Eve would come over Christmas Eve and tell us the Jesus story. But earlier years, teenage years, like I said, I knew who Jesus was. I knew about God, but God's given me some opportunities to share things that's occurred to me over the years out here, on the road and everything. And I've been able to share that. And I guess if that's all He wants me to do, one of the incidences that happened to me, I'll share it in a few minutes. But I told Him from day one, I said, Lord, if you can ever use this, I'm here. I'm willing.
Well, let's use it. What's the story?
Well, which one? Well, I've got a couple, but I'll give you the best. I'll give you the best one first. All right, back during this time, it was early February 2009, and during this period of time, I was actually running north during the winter time, leaving out at 11 o'clock at night. going up north to Carlisle, Pennsylvania. But anyway, and it was snowing. It was snowing pretty good right there in Charlotte. But as I was going north on 77, things seemed to be clearing up. All right, I get up there about, oh gosh, it's about an hour and 20 minutes out of Charlotte. I'll never forget the mile marker is mile marker 97. Now it's about getting pretty close to 12 o'clock, midnight. I'm going down through there in the right-hand lane of the interstate, and all of a sudden I see these two headlights coming right straight at me in my lane. So instinctively, I said, oh gosh, I went to the left-hand lane. Trapper, as soon as I did, my tractor just felt like it was floating. It's just like it was floating. I mean, I had no steering whatsoever. Now, for the next, I would say 30 seconds or so, I don't have a clue what happened. I can only know what happened by looking at it after the fact. And I'll try to explain that in a minute. But anyway, I realize I'm in a slide, and then for the next 20 seconds, 30 seconds or so, I don't remember anything until I came to a complete stop somewhere. I stopped somewhere. I didn't know where I was at, but I stopped, and I kind of started looking around, getting my bearings and everything. I said, golly, Moses, I said, I'm off the road. I'm looking at these tree branches right on my windshield and everything, and I'm looking around. I said, golly, where am I at? But anyway, I'm sitting there now. I'm in my seatbelt. Now, at this moment in time, I do not realize I'm upside down. It didn't take me long to figure out that I was upside down. Okay, I'm sitting there trying to get out of my seatbelt. I did get out of my seatbelt. I climbed out the passenger side of the tractor. And about that time, Trapper, this is, just bear with me here. About that time, my phone rings. And my wife never calls me. I told her never to call me at night, unless she had an emergency or something really came up. And I answered the phone. Now I'm still trying to get out of my tractor and everything. And I answered the phone. I said, hello. And she said, first thing that come out of her mouth, she said, are you okay? And I said, well, honey, yeah, I'm fine. But I said, you're going to have to hold on a minute. I said, I've had an accident, but I said, I'm okay. I promise you, I'm okay. Trapper, she got real quiet. She said, 10 minutes ago, now this was about 12 o'clock. She said, 10 minutes ago, she said, the Lord laid on my heart to pray for your protection. And I said, honey, all I can tell you, I said, I'll call you back in a few minutes. All I can tell you, he answered your prayer. And we both, I could tell she got a little emotional, but anyway, I told her I'd call her back, and I called her back, and I said, everything's all right. But I said that, I think that's probably the best part of the story. But Trapper, I'm pulling a set of doubles, okay? I'm pulling a set of doubles. If you had saw this, and so many people that come up later, they could not believe it. These two trailers and the tractor was totally upside down with all wheels in the air. The two trailers and the tractor was laying on its top. You could stand at the rear of the trailer. The tractor was 75 feet off the road. You could stand at the rear of the trailer and look straight up, and they were in perfect alignment. They had not come apart. It was as though somebody had taken their hands and lifted that tractor and trailers completely up and flipped them right over on the top. And that's how I landed. Everybody that came up and saw that, they could not believe it. Why didn't those trailers fall over? Why didn't, And as I started thinking about it, I said, this is nothing but a God thing. And soon it was like it was dark. It was dark at the time, and I really didn't know what I had just crossed over. I said there's like a 30-second span there that I just don't remember anything. But I just missed about a 20-foot drop off to a river by about 30 feet. If I'd gone to the left, 2 foot to the left, getting in the left-hand side of the interstate, I would have wound up in, I believe they call it Fisher River. But anyway, I'm sitting there, and I stayed up there a total of 12 hours helping to clean up there. I had to make some phone calls to my terminal manager. Of course, he came up, and of course he couldn't believe what he was seeing. And when he called a regional safety man, he couldn't believe. He said, we're not going to fire this. We bit the bullet on it. Nobody's hurt. He's not even hurt. I mean, I wasn't hurt. And anyway, I'm standing there. All these the vendor shows up, and these emergency crew shows up. There's one guy standing there. He was kind of standing over there, and I was kind of standing over there next to the wreck scene and all. And he came over and he said, "Has anybody seen the driver?" I said, "Well, sir," I said, "Buddy, you're actually looking at him." And he looked at me. He said, "No." He said, "You didn't go to the hospital or nothing?" I said, "But I said, only thing I've got is a scratch on my finger when I climbed out, and there's a bunch of blackberry shrubs or something. But anyway," I said, "this is the only thing that's wrong with me." I said, "I'm cold," because it was about 20 degrees that night, and I had a little lightweight jacket with me. And he got real quiet. He looked at me. He said, "Brother," he said, "all I've got to say," he said, "the Lord's got something else in mind for you." I said, "Well, I actually think he does." And I said, "I'll be talking to him a lot." But, I'm thinking, yeah, I'm going to be talking to him a lot about this. But anyway, as time went on, we got the mess cleaned up. I didn't even get back to Charlotte till about 11 o'clock that morning. Of course.
Well, let's go back a little bit. Let's go back a little bit here, because you're on this highway, and did somebody merge onto your highway? What's your, as you go back now, what happened?
First thing I noticed coming down the hill, I see this car coming at me with two headlights. She wound up wrecking, but she was okay. She went off the shoulder road. I don't know how she got on the northbound side, but as I'm coming down the hill, I do remember. But I saw this state trooper up there he's probably about a half mile in front of me, up like across the bridge and going up the other side. He is actually working on another scene, another wreck scene. But anyway, he saw me coming down that hill, and he came up there to me as soon as he got done with the one he was working on. And he said, "Driver, you okay?" I said, "Yeah, I'm okay, but I'm just cold right now." He said, "Driver," he said, "I saw you coming down that hill." He said, "This area right through here, there was an area of about 200 yards that had just literally glassed over with ice." And he said he had called the DOT to come out there and put sand down. He said he about lost it himself, in his patrol car. But
so that's why you said you like you were floating. You didn't know what was going on.
I hit ice. I just didn't know it at the time.
Right.
I just didn't know it at the time.
Now, why do you think you don't remember those 20, 30 seconds when whatever happened?
I really don't know. I don't have an answer for that. I don't have an answer for that. I'm going by what, of course, the officer told me. He saw me coming down. He saw me get on that ice. And, I was under the assumption that, because I knew it had been snowing a little bit, but where I was at that point in time, it had quit snowing. And I even was talking to a friend of mine about 20 minutes earlier. I said, "I believe we're going to be all right because it's quit snowing." I said, there's no snow laying on the ground up here. But I said, it's cold, but, and I really didn't expect any ice being on the road. And like the officer told me, he said there's about a 200-yard stretch here that is ice, and he said it's. I mean, it was slick too. It was slick, and there was actually the girl that I saw coming toward me, and then the accident that he was working up in front of me a little ways, but nobody was hurt. Thank goodness.
As
But
far as you know, she was sober. She just made a mistake somewhere, or what happened?
she apparently she did.
So you're seeing headlights coming right for you. You're moving over to your left. You've lost all control. And the next thing you remember is you have tree branches, you're stopped, but you don't know yet you're upside down. Is that right?
Exactly. It didn't take me long to figure out I was upside down when I looked. I'm looking up at the floor of the tractor. I'm looking, whoa, and all my stuff I carried with me was laying on the top on top of the unit.
But you're feeling fine. I mean, you're hanging there in your harness, basically. You're hanging in the seatbelt, right?
Yeah.
And you're feeling fine. You realize you're upside down. You're not quite sure what just happened, but you know you're okay.
Exactly.
And then your phone starts ringing as you're climbing out.
Yep. It was my wife calling me, and she said 10 minutes ago, she said, the Lord laid it on my heart to pray for your protection. And I said, well, that kind of took me back a little bit when.
Well, she's connected. You're connected to her. You're all connected.
You just confirming what everybody has told me over the years that I've shared this with. Everybody says that's really the best part of the story. That I mean, like I say, we've been married almost 50 years, and we've like everybody else, we've had our life problems, but the Lord has always got us through them. He's always been faithful to get us through. I'll never forget when we met the pastor when we first got married. We had to go see the pastor. He tried to talk us out to get married because she was 17, I was 19. I said, well, we're going to make this work. 25 years later, we ran into our pastor, and he couldn't. He shook his head. He just shook his head.
The numbers are bad. 19 and 17. The numbers aren't good. The numbers aren't good. So no wonder he was advising against it. But later did she say, I was scared to death, or just pray for him, and that's all I know? She obviously was concerned enough that she would call you.
She was concerned, but she never. I mean, when I told her what had happened, I think she got more concerned then. But just the way she said it, when I answered the phone, the very first thing that come out of her mouth after I said hello, she said she got a little. She said, "Are you okay?" Just like in a concerned voice, like in a little concerned voice. And I said, yeah. And then that's when she told me that about the Lord.
Talk about your next conversation with God. After something like this, you're looking up a little differently, aren't you? Kind of like, yeah. Like, I don't know how. I mean, you're looking at this perfectly aligned, upside down truck that hasn't fallen apart, and you're fine. And you look up and say, what?
Well, I'm sitting there kind of in disbelief. First of all, because I'm not hurt, and I'm thinking, he answered your prayer, and then I got off the phone, and I started, as I remember, I started thanking God and just thanking Him for protecting me, because she said, pray for He told me to pray for your protection. And I just said, thank you, Lord. And there's been several other times that He's done the exact same thing as far as protecting me from a very bad situation, several more times, matter of fact, but not because of my driving. It's because of just the circumstances. I was in the wrong place at the wrong time, but He's always been there to protect me, and I'm always ready to I try to be observant of things that He might be doing. I probably miss a lot of them, but I'm trying to be more observant now. Well, I have been of what He's doing, and especially in my life. But
don't you find it interesting too? Now, God can do anything. God's God. God's got angels. He can do whatever He wants to do. And one of the things he wants us to know is that we have to pray. I
Yeah,
mean, he can do this on his own. He can flip the truck. Your wife doesn't have to know anything, doesn't get any signal. You can just wake up upside, right side, whatever. He can do anything he wants. But what he is instilling in us right now, as he did then, is we need to be praying for each other, because otherwise things just may not turn out the way they did. Isn't that
exactly.
interesting? I mean, God can do
Yeah.
anything, but
Oh yeah.
our prayers are required sometimes in order for him. We said before in this podcast, our prayers move the hand of God. And your story shows exactly that.
Yes, I convinced of that more so than ever before, and it all began with then. But of course, I've got a few other times, but that was probably the one that moved me the most at in the last couple of several years. But
Yeah. Wow. Can we just hit rewind for 1 second here?
at this moment in time, I do not realize I'm upside down. It didn't take me long to figure out that I was upside down. Trapper, if you had, if I'm pulling a set of doubles, okay? I'm pulling a set of doubles. If you had saw this, and so many people that come up later, they could not believe it. These two trailers and the tractor was totally upside down with all wheels in the air. The two trailers and the tractor was laying on its top. You could stand at the rear of the trailer. The tractor was 75 feet off the road. You could stand at the rear of the trailer and look straight up, and they were in perfect alignment. They had not come apart. It was as though somebody had taken their hands and lifted that tractor and trailers completely up and flipped them right over on the top. And that's how I landed. As I started thinking about it, I said, this is nothing but a God thing.
Yeah, nothing but a God thing. More with Nick, truck driving Nick, coming up here on Touched by Heaven. Everyday encounters with God. Going to hit the pause button for just a second. Quick Patreon shout out for Holly Saporito. Thank you so much for helping us out here on patreon.com. You go to patreon.com and search for Trapper Jack, or click into this episode 150 at touchedbyheaven.net. We're going to get back to our Nick story in a second. It does remind me of other trucks driving stories. A number of truck drivers have called in their stories here at Touched by Heaven, and I'm trying to think of if the earliest was Zoltan Jaska. How you doing, Zoltan? I know you're listening. He had a story in which he was driving through St. Louis. I can't remember the number of the episode, but he's driving through St. Louis. He's in the middle lane. He's got to get off the right exit, and his steering wheel will not move. It's locked. It can't go left. It can't go right. He's starting to panic. And then the car that was in his blind spot on the right side, in the next lane to his right, drove past him. And then Zoltan's steering wheel would move. He would have crushed that car, would have crushed him. He had an angel not allowing him to go right or left, kept him straight until that car passed, and then the steering wheel had free movement again. What episode was that, Zoltan? I'm not looking it up. I'm too lazy. What was it? I'll tell you. I will tell you this, though. Back in episode 33, I'll tell you something he did do. We got back together again because in a previous episode, he had proposed to his girlfriend on the podcast. On the podcast, he had proposed. Because on episode 33, we got the result. But here's kind of the setup. I'll just take you to episode 33. Here's the setup. These truck drivers are different kind of people. I'm just saying. But here's Zoltan from, what country are you from, Zoltan? Bulgaria? Okay, I'm trying to remember all this stuff. But here he is. And you'll hear what he was about to do, because he was talking about how he would not marry his girlfriend. He'd been burned before, so they're going to have to live together for a lot of years before he was going to do any proposing.
I can't marry you, right away. We have to live together for 5 or 10 years, and then we'll see. If we go through good times and bad times as well. I love you, but I can't. I just can't marry you.
So, is there anything you would want to say right now to Mariana?
If I may, yes, I would like to say just one simple sentence. Mariana, will you marry me? Because you're my soulmate, and I love you. Hi, Jack. How you doing?
It's not how am I doing, it's how are you doing?
We're doing great. Thank you.
Very good. Is Mariana there too?
Hi.
Yes, he's here. He's here.
Hello, Mariana.
Hi.
Mariana, did he surprise you just a little bit?
Yeah, but was a shock first time, and after normal, very happy.
Did you say yes?
Yeah, normal. First time I think it's crazy. You are crazy.
So first you just tell him he's crazy.
Yeah.
And then when you heard him say, Mariana, will you marry me? After he had told you that he wouldn't marry you for a long time.
Shock.
They pulled out the ring from under the bed.
Oh, that's right. You were grabbing the ring too. Oh, yeah.
But for me, well, he's big diamond.
I am her big diamond.
He's a big diamond. Yeah.
We both are diamonds. We both are blessed.
Yeah. A couple of diamonds there. Zoltan, you are the big diamond, buddy. But another truck driver story there. Condensed a little bit here, but thanks, Zoltan Jaska. Another one of our supporters on Patreon. So there's another way of kind of mentioning that as well. So thank you for your continued support, not only with stories and listening, but also support on Patreon. Patreon.com, search for Trapper Jack, or click here at episode 150 if you'd like to help out. Keeping Touched by Heaven just keeps on going. Just like a truck. All right, now more with Nick here on Touched by Heaven. Everyday encounters with God. Oh, and to set this up, this goes back a few years when they were building a home. So he was kind of clearing out the land. It's in the woods. He's got a fire going, burning some rubbish and whatnot. He's clearing away. He's chopping wood. I mean, it's an hot August day, and he's starting to inhale the fire fumes, the smoke, and he's exhausted, and all of a sudden he starts feeling kind of funny.
Trapper, all of a sudden, as I'm working around that fire and so forth, I started getting real faint, and my skin I started sweating, and then I quit sweating, and then my skin felt weird, and I said, "Oh, this is not good." I think I was having a heat stroke. But anyway, I sit down in the yard there in the woods. I'm sitting there, and about that time, an older, white-headed gentleman comes walking into the cul-de-sac, comes walking up there, and the only thing he said, "Do you need some water?" And I said, "Yes, sir, I sure do." He came up, gave me the water. I started drinking the water, and that is the last time I saw this guy. And I said, "Golly." And I really didn't think about that. It didn't even dawn on me that it was maybe a guardian angel. Now, to this day, I believe it was. I believe it was now.
What's it say in the Bible? We entertain angels, and that sure sounded like.
Well, he walked up, and he didn't give his name. He just said, "Do you need some water?" And I said, "Yes, sir." I drank that water, and as soon as I started drinking that water, he was gone. He was gone.
I love it.
And
isn't that great?
He said.
All right. You have a third story?
I can tell you about my in-laws. Kind of a short story.
All right.
They was involved in a house fire in early 90s. I want to say it's about 94. But anyway, they got out of the house, and the house actually, there was so much damage they had to go in there and tear it down. But Trapper, during this period of time between the house burning down and them rebuilding on the lot, probably about a little over a year. But during this time, my father-in-law kind of went off on the deep end. Okay, I mean, he did. He lost his house, and he was doing some crazy. Now, mind you, he was not saved at the time. That comes into play during this. But anyway, he was not saved at the time, and so my mother-in-law felt like she needed to get away from him. Uh, and it was just, I mean, I don't know. She just didn't feel real safe around him. But she came down to live with us, and he was sitting there at the apartment one night, the apartment that they were renting while their house was being built. He was sitting there at the apartment, and his only grandchild was over there. And this is apparently on like a Friday night. His granddaughter was over there, 3 years old, and she could, her little heart and all could tell. She could tell that her papa was hurting because of just the way he was acting. He didn't. So here she comes. She goes in there and gets the family Bible, brings it in there, and says, "Here, Papa, read this." He said she said, "It will make you feel better." That's all her little voice could say. It'll make you feel better. And he took the Bible, and apparently, something spoke to him, because about 4 o'clock in the morning, he gave his life to the Lord. Okay, he woke up and gave his life to the Lord. Well, like I say, my mother-in-law was down staying with us in at our place, and something woke me up. It was about 5 o'clock in the morning that I woke up, and I saw my mother-in-law sitting in there in the kitchen, and she's sitting in there real quiet. And I walked in there, and I said, "Dean," I said, "Is everything okay?" She said, "Yeah, I'm okay." She said, "But I've got to get your take on something." And I said, "What is it, Dean?" She said, "This morning, about 4 o'clock," she said, "I woke straight up out of bed. I had a dream that Howard," she said, "the voice told me that Howard had made himself a place in heaven." And I said, "Wow, I pray that that's happened." And about 10 o'clock Saturday morning, he calls the house. My daddy-in-law says, "Dean, you're not going to believe this." Says, "I want to make things better. I want things to work. I want to work things out with you." But he said, "I've got to tell you what happened to me this morning." And he said, "At 4 o'clock this morning, I gave my life to the Lord." She got real quiet. And then she shared, "Well, Howard, guess what? I woke up at 4 o'clock this morning saying that got a message in a dream that you had made yourself a place in heaven." So you know what happened from there on. They made arrangements to meet again back up at her brother's house, and from there on things seemed to be pretty good. I mean, they got moved into their new house, and things seem to be going along pretty good. They both, of course, they're both passed away now, but I just thought that was kind of
Something happened.
just enough.
Something happened. Yeah, something happened. Yeah,
Something happened. Yeah.
that's no
But,
coincidence.
no, I not tell people all the time. I don't believe in coincidences. Never have. It's it's amazing. It is amazing how he works, and I'm thankful to be just a small piece of the puzzle.
Well, thanks for this, Nick. God bless you. I so appreciate you stopping and throwing a few stories our way.
Okay, appreciate you calling me back there, Trapper.
Thanks, Nick. Keep on trucking. And thanks for listening out there on the road, wherever you may be. Nick's stories are actually, they're very, very simple. Touched by Heaven is very simple. You just look for the signs. They're just signs all over the place on this week's episode, whether it's how God keeps a marriage together or how he sends an angel to deliver a bottle of water, or how he'll take a truck and just flip it upside down and nobody's hurt. It's still dazzling. Just so simple. And the simplest explanation is the explanation: God.
This is nothing but a God thing.
God's hand in it all. Or let's go back to something Nick said. I think the takeaway, there's not a lot to say. The takeaway is something Nick said in the midst of all of this.
I try to be observant of things that he might be doing. I probably miss a lot of them, but I'm trying to be more observant now of what he's doing, and especially in my life.
You got it, Nick. So, what is your story? What is your angel story, divine intervention, near-death experience, whatever it happens to be, vision, prophetic dream? What was it? What is it? Get a hold of me at touchedbyheaven.net. Thanks again for keeping us a 5-star podcast in your podcast app by your ratings and reviews. And thank you so much for keeping us all going in this Touched by Heaven world by helping us out through patreon.com here at episode 150 or patreon.com and click through after searching for Trapper Jack. Thank you for all of that. All right. Oh, and stay informed in the Touched by Heaven universe. Come here to episode 150 and just click through. We'll get you the weekly email as well. Other stories in the Touched by Heaven universe. Okay. See you next week. Down here on the road, Touched by Heaven. Everyday encounters with God. I'm Trapper Jack.